how little effort was put into that. So it's not Runway as a video generation software. I mean, Runway's really amazing, and you'll see one of the tests I do with it later that is like jaw-dropping and the reason I can make this movie today. Hi, I'm Katya Alexander, and this is Real Intelligence, the podcast where we interview filmmakers about their use of AI in the film industry, as well as exploring new tools that are coming out and talking about the future of film with AI.
Real intelligence leading the way. AI insights, it's what you crave. Real intelligence, turn up the light. Stay informed all through the night.
This is the second episode of the new series where I'm making a short film using AI tools and bringing you guys along with the process. I'm showing the good, the bad, the ugly, what was easy, what was hard, and what was possible. I'm hoping that this series inspires people who don't have access to a lot of resources to make their short films from their bedrooms. For those of you who don't know me, I've been working in the film industry for 12 years. I sold my first film to a Bamarama and later won South by Southwest with a feature that I sold to IFC and became a trending film on Hulu. I also worked in the Las Vegas Sphere, which was a boot camp about the intersection between entertainment and technology. On the last episode, I showed you how I was using ChatGPT as a writing partner, how I wrote the beat sheet, and I compared a bunch of different image generation softwares to start designing the characters for the movie and the look of the movie. In this episode, I'm going to start making the storyboard as well as comparing video generation softwares. From the last episode, I realized that MidJourney was most likely going to be the best image generation software for what I needed. It gave me the exact look that I was looking for both wide shots and the parties, but also all the different characters. So I am going to move forward with MidJourney. I mentioned this a little bit in the last episode, but I have found that I get the best videos from starting with an image and then creating a video out of that image instead of just generating a video from a prompt. So that's why I'm building the storyboard using MidJourney and using images so that I will then animate those images using video software. Before I got too deep into making the storyboard, I wanted to make sure that the characters were exactly what I wanted them to look like. I know in the last episode I started generating the characters, but I wanted to give this a little bit more time because they are the two main characters of the entire movie. So I wanted to do a couple more tries and make sure they were exactly what I wanted them to look like. So I started with Mia again. I did a couple more prompts and a couple more generations just to see if I would get anything better than what I got last time, and I ended up actually getting something better that I decided was going to be the look of Mia. When I did the same thing for Sasha, I don't know what was going on with how I was prompting or what I was doing, but no matter what I used for Sasha, it just wasn't coming up with anything I could really use. So I did end up using the image that I got last week because I did really love that image. I just wanted to see if I could do anything better. You know, it's like the classic filmmaker. You just want to make sure that you definitely have the best take. You definitely have the best option. So last week, what I got was the best option. I do really like that, Simon. So I saved those two images to make sure I could reference them later whenever I needed to. The scene I wanted to start with for the storyboard was this scene where they're arriving at the party and getting their IDs checked. I thought it was a good scene because it was going to have wide shots of the party, which is the main location. It was going to design what the security robot people were going to look like. And it was going to do 2 shots with Mia and Sasha and singles on them. So I just wanted to make sure that I could do all of those things with these tools. So I just decided to start with that scene. The first image I started with was the image of Mia and Sasha. It was going to be a 2-shot of them. And I will admit, I had the hardest time generating this image. I don't usually have this hard of a time getting the exact image that I wanted, but I tried a lot of different prompts to get what I was looking for, and there were so many failures and these really creepy looking images, and her eyes were glowing for some reason. There were just so many different artifacts and hallucinations, meaning AI adding weird stuff into your image that I was getting that I don't usually get when I use MidJourney. So Part of me was very frustrated because it took so long to get the image that I wanted, but also part of me was happy because I could show the audience like MidJourney is not like a one and done thing. You might spend like 45 minutes getting just one image that you're trying to get. But if you want your movie to be good and you want it to be exactly what you're thinking of, you're going to have to spend 45 minutes to get the image that you want. If you were on set, you would be spending the same amount of time getting the exact shot that you want. When it comes to generating an image on MidJourney, the thing I found that works best is first the style. So for this, I was like hyper realistic, shot on the Kodak Portra 400 and vibrant colors. So it knows like the style of the shot. The next thing would be the characters. So I described Mia and I described Sasha, and I make sure that whenever I'm describing them in a prompt, I'm using pretty much the same words every single time, because MidJourney will start to figure out that like these are the same people and it will actually generate them to look pretty similar. The next thing you would include in the prompt would be the action that's happening. So the action is that they are nervous and they're getting their IDs looked at. Then you describe the location. So the location was this big party. There's lots of people around them. It's this crazy neon party that takes place in the year 3000. And then the last thing you would include is the lighting. So I said it was soft lighting, but very colorful neon lighting. I picked a 1.9 aperture, which meant that the background would be kind of blurry, but the subjects would be very sharp. It helped me like decide more of like the look that I'm going for and have more control over the image. And then the last important thing is doing -AR and then the aspect ratio that you want your image to be in. If you don't do that, it will always be 1:1, which means it'll come out as a square, but this film is going to be a 16:9 film. So at the end of every single image that I generated, I do -AR 16:9. Once I had a basic shot that I really liked of Mia and Sasha, they're clearly looking at somebody, there's a party behind them, it's the look that I want, the clothing that I want, everything is what I want. Now I need to make sure that the characters are consistent. So that I want to upscale that version, and then I want to edit a specific region. I started with Mia, so I highlighted all of Mia, I did --CREF character reference, and then the link to the picture of Mia. And then I said the creative weight was 80, which is ..CW 80. It did take a lot of iterations to get it exactly what I wanted it to look like, but that's what I was saying before. If you want it to be perfect, it's just gonna take time. I then did the exact same process for Sasha. I took the image with the correct Mia, and then I did upscale again, edit region, I highlighted all of Sasha, I did --CREF with a link to a picture of Sasha, --CW 80. And then I finally got an image of our protagonist Mia, our protagonist Sasha, a medium 2-shot of them both with the party behind them, and it was exactly what I wanted it to look like. I'm just using simple Google Slides to make the actual storyboard. And so when I got the image that I really liked, I labeled it properly, like what shot, what scene, everything that it was, and put it into a folder so I have the image. Then I just took the image and I put it into a document so I can start creating an actual storyboard. The next thing I wanted to generate was like the robot-y bouncer person. Again, it was really hard. Like, it's not the simplest thing. But to make sure the styles of the shots were consistent, like across the board, it's important to use a lot of the same words. So in the shot description, it's the exact same words. Hyper realistic, shot in a Kodak Portra 400 and vibrant colors. I did the same thing with the location because it is in the exact same location. I used the exact same words to describe the location. And I did --AR 16:9, of course. Where things changed, of course, was the action that was happening because this was a person actually checking the IDs. So I had to say that. And the character. It's not Mia and Sasha, it is the security guard. So I was describing the security guard. I eventually got an image where I did really like his face, but I didn't like his uniform. So I did upscale, edit portion. I selected his uniform and I described how I wanted his uniform to change. And then it gave me a new image that was only editing his uniform. I did the same thing for the background. I didn't really love the background it was giving me, so I did upscale, edit portion, selected the background, said the things I wanted to change, and then regenerated it. So when you're creating an image, you don't have to just like regenerate the entire image. You can regenerate just portions of it so that you can get the exact thing that you want. You can also download the image and put it into Photoshop and do some things manually if you want to have more control over it. Another thing to remember is like when you're watching a movie, there's a lot of shots where like you cut away from the shot, but then you cut back to the shot. And so I try to reflect that in the storyboard as much as I can so that it's truly true to how the movie is going to be edited. So if I'm cutting back to a shot, I just use the same image. It saves time because you're not regenerating a brand new image for every single thing that you're doing, but then also it helps your brain kind of understand what the movie is truly going to look like when it's all edited together. Especially because you're not on set, you can't just be like, oh, let's get a quick insert. You have to have planned out every single shot that you want in the movie. So then finally, I had a storyboard for that scene. It's so funny because it's such a simple exchange and it's probably going to take up total of a couple of seconds in the movie, but it took me a total of like an hour and a half to just do that portion of the storyboard. So to say AI is like an instant thing where you're just typing a sentence and boom, your whole movie is there is definitely not accurate. It took me over an hour to make just the storyboard for a couple of seconds of the movie. The next thing I did was compare video generation softwares. So I decided to do 3 shots for this. The first shot was going to be the shot of Sasha and Mia. I wanted to make sure that the characters stayed consistent. Sometimes video generation softwares will change what the characters look like when they actually put them in motion. I wanted to see how people move in the images, and I wanted to see if it could capture like certain levels of emotion that's happening in the scene. Haiper is very interesting because it adds so much to the shot. Like for some reason it did like this full pullback and like for the rest of the party, and it's not really what I wanted. It was so cool. I was like, oh wow, that's awesome. But it wasn't what I wanted for this specific shot. For this shot specifically, Kling was hands down my favorite. I couldn't believe how well it captured the emotion of Mia and Sasha, like them actually nervously looking at each other. They looked exactly how they looked in the image. I mean, it was like, oh my God, like this is truly a shot. Like that's incredible. Krea did something that was pretty expected. It's one of the things that frustrates me about a lot of video generation softwares. Like the characters are just completely still, but then there's like this weird camera movement, and like that's the movement that it adds. It's not really how shots in movies actually look. It's super cool and impressive, but it's just not something I would settle for a movie. Luma generally is my favorite video generation software actually. So I was really surprised that for this shot, it truly gave me nothing. Like it looked like just like a Ken's burn image of like zooming in on like a still image. I was like, okay, Luma, thank you. Give me nothing. Like, wow. Pixverse, on the other hand, is so unhinged. Like it just added 2 characters coming in out of nowhere. And I was like, I mean, again, like super impressive, but like, wow, like so many creative choices were made by this AI. It had its own idea of how this scene was going to go. Runway did kind of what I was expecting of it, which was it did the classic, like very little bit of motion, but lots of camera motion for some reason. And again, it looks really pretty, but it's just not what shots in movies look like. And it's not how actors appear, even in animation. Like it's just not what it looks like. So it's just not something I would settle for to actually put in a movie. I usually tell filmmakers like who are just doing first image of MidJourney into Runway and then like putting a voiceover over it, like you can see how little effort was put into that. So it's not Runway as a video generation software. I mean, Runway's really amazing, and you'll see one of the tests I do with it later that is like jaw-dropping and the reason I can make this movie today. But just with all films, you can see when a person put the minimal amount of effort into it. And like these shots feel like that to me. It feels like a minimal amount of effort to me. Vidu was so cool. I kind of like what it did with the lighting, and it also captured emotion really well. So like for this shot, it would be kind of a tie between Kling and Vidu, with like a little bit more towards Kling because I just really loved what it did. This gave me so much hope and excitement about the project because video generation software has just come really, really, really far. And this showed me how far it's really come, that I can make shots that look like this, that capture emotion, that truly would be that like if I had the funds to hire animators and do the film like how I wish I could do it, this is like the closest I've ever gotten to that, which is so cool. The next test I did was of these like grand images. Haiper was actually pretty good, better than I thought it was going to be for this, but it definitely had a lot of artifacts. Like when you're looking at it, you are like, wow, this is AI. Like arms are moving into each other. People are not moving how people move. And like there's no like real laws of physics in these images. So for like a dream sequence or like a I'm on drugs sequence, it would be super cool. It's not really something I want to settle for the actual movie. Kling again was just killing it. I will say that like for a large scale thing, Kling wasn't as good as like for the 2-shot, but generally like it was pretty good. There are some artifacts, of course, and some hallucinations, but it'd be closer to what I'm willing to settle for an AI film. The first one that Krea gave me, it'd be super cool for, again, like this big drug moment in a movie, or like, you know, a like I'm so overwhelmed, reality is splitting scene, but like for just like a shot of the movie, it wouldn't be exactly what I was looking for. But the second image was actually pretty good. I was pretty impressed. It would be something I'd be willing to use. I don't know why, but Luma, I really like it. I know there are like a lot of hallucinations and artifacts, but like I liked what it did. I don't know if I would use those images, but like in just looking at them, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm enjoying watching that. For the first shot, Pixverse was amazing. It was exactly what I was looking for. I was like, yeah, I would use this. That's amazing. For the second one, it got a little confused about the guy's hand, so not as usable, but you just need one thing that's usable, you know what I mean? For the first shot, Runway is so funny. Like really impressive because like people truly are dancing and like you can tell it's a party and like there's not that many artifacts, but just really funny that like everybody's just bouncing at the exact same time. Like it's just a little funny. This second shot though, I was so impressed. People walking into the party, it would be a shot that I would use and be proud to use. I mean, I was so surprised. Vidu, it's just amazing. Like, it looks so good. I love the lighting choices that it made in both of the clips. Like, yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's really interesting because with the image generation software, it was such a clear, like, oh, this is how we're going to move forward. Where with this experiment, it's definitely not as clear, like, what is usable and what's not usable. There's so many different shots that different programs did really well, and then there were shots that different programs didn't do as well, or they like, you know, it just kind of flip-flopped what did well, what didn't do well. So I think for the actual animation part, I'm going to use a bunch of different programs and experiment a bunch of different programs and do a lot of experiments on each and every single shot, so I make sure I'm getting exactly what I want to get. And for this, I'm pretty much going to be using all of the motion AIs because they're all sort of good at different things, and it doesn't change the look of the film because the look is pretty much set in MidJourney, which is one of the reasons I do that, is so I can experiment with different things that I can do. So I was actually pretty happy with this experiment. I was really nervous about adding the motion to this film, and this experiment gave me a lot of hope, and I was like, oh, this film could actually look pretty good. It will definitely look like AI, but I expected that. I keep telling people when you're watching an AI film, it's the equivalent of eating frozen yogurt. If you want ice cream, then the frozen yogurt is not going to be good, but if you wanted frozen yogurt, then you'll be happy. So AI film for a long time, probably forever, will sort of be that way. But it's his own genre to me. It's his own sort of thing and his own way of storytelling. The last test I did was on Runway's Show 1, which is a way to do motion capture on your face and then apply it to a character, and it matches the lips and the facial expressions and your head movements. I had very low expectations of this because people have been trying to do this for a really long time and it's not been the best. It absolutely blew me away. So for the first test, I kept my head very still because I didn't know what the program could handle, and I just said the lines that I was saying. I was just improvising, and like, I mean, you'll see like my hair is in a bun. I'm like just playing on my computer for hours. This wasn't like a big shoot. I was just testing. Are you going to help me with the cause or what? I mean, I get that it's risky, but the fate of all of society is in our hands. So I'm going to do whatever it takes. I don't care if you come along, but if you do, you can't hold me back. Do you understand? And then when I saw the results of that, I was like, wow, this program can handle a lot. Why don't I try adding all of the head motion that I want to add and then see if it could capture that very well? So I did another test. Are you going to help with the cause or what? I mean, I get that is risky, but the fate of society is in our hands. So honestly, I don't care if you come along or not. I don't care. But if you do come, you have to stay out of my way. And you can't limit me. Do you understand? I was so shocked by how well it did that. And again, I was like, oh wow, this movie really can be made because of how good AI has gotten in the past year. One of my plans right now is just to like motion capture myself to create all the characters, but then I'm going to hire voice actors to do the actual voice acting. So I'll say the lines and stuff just for the motion capture, but then bring in the voice actors to do the dialogue and match it to the lips. I know usually for traditional animation, it's done opposite. You record the lines and then you animate around the lines. I'm not sure which order I'm going to do it in yet. I'm going to experiment around like with what's easiest and what works the best. And so that's probably going to be the people that I do hire for this project are actual actors and voice actors. I don't have like a bunch of money to like throw into projects, so that's like why I'm doing this. Is like a way to like make this really cool film when I don't have money. But I do always want to hire as many people as I can, even if it's just a personal project. So I am really excited to work with some voice actors for this. So by the time you're watching this, I'll actually be back from the trip, but I am going to China for a couple of weeks. And so in China, I am planning on polishing the beat sheet and finishing that, polishing the script and finishing that, and then taking like rabid notes all over the script of how exactly I am going to do each thing and start breaking down different tech stuff I'm going to use, different technical tests I still have to do. And so on the next episode, I'm going to go over all of the crazy notes and crazy ideas that I've come up with and start talking about the overall strategy of how I'm going to do this film from these early tests and this early storyboard that I've done. I'm also going to carry on with the storyboard. As you guys saw, like to do 4 seconds of the movie takes hours, so it's going to take a while to finish this storyboard. But that's okay. That's like what we are all on this journey to do. As I finish stuff, I'm going to post it on my website so people can read the outlines, the beat sheet, the script, see the storyboard, and see different images I'm creating on MidJourney so people can kind of follow along with the project and actually like see all the little things that are coming out of it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katya Alexander, and this is Real Intelligence.